Hey, this is Tarence Lauchié, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this podcast, The Growth Exchange. This podcast was designed to curate conversation, dialogue, and monologue around all things growth. I believe that everything living has the potential to grow into its fullest and most maximal potential. So let's grow. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Tarence Lauchié, and you're tuned into another episode of the Growth Exchange podcast, where we talk about all things growth. We are in our second season, and I'm excited and just simply godly proud of the work, the interviews, the conversations, dialogues, and monologues that's already out there in our library. We have a cadre of topics and conversations that might interest you. So we suggest that you go and check it out on all social media platforms. Like and share and let somebody know about this podcast. Today, we're going to up the ante. We got somebody here that's going to talk a little bit about motivation, but he's also an author, a banker, newly married, and also a Detroiter. I want to welcome to this platform or to this conversation called The Growth Exchange, Mr. Anthony Winans. Welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you came in. You reached out and said, hey, I got a book, and I believe that it can speak to your audiences and the things that you talk about. So,
Absolutely.
hey, and here you are, right?
Here I am.
Yeah, and we find that we got some mutual connections.
Yes, that's true.
And the most important one is that Detroit connection.
Yeah, you know it. Look, born and raised.
East side, right?
East side.
I know people get sick of me on this podcast talking about Detroit.
Listen, I don't know who said it. You know, East side is the best side.
That's what I say. I tell people I'm from the best side. My wife's from the west side. Right?
You know what I mean?
You don't even have to explain it.
Oh, you're gonna get a lot of flack now. You're gonna get a lot of flack.
But no, it's okay. I think it's a good rivalry, though. It's a good, interesting
is,
rivalry because we made it this far.
Absolutely.
And we got another common thread too, in that you're a man of faith and you operate in ministry to the extent of just giving yourself, rendering.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your inspiration for motivation. Offline, we were talking about the difference between the two, but just introduce yourself to the listening audience and talk about what you do in the field of inspiration and motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'll take it back. Right, just kind of how I got into this.
So back in the 1970s, no.
Listen, if I look good for that, you know what I mean. I'll take it back to like 2012.
Okay,
2012. Coming up, moms, we struggled, didn't have a lot. So me, I didn't have a lot of positive figures, around me. So eventually, I fell on to this thing I call motivation. I didn't know anything about it. Never heard of it. I just knew when I heard it, it made me feel a way.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where it all started. That's where it all clicked with me. I never started speaking then. It's just I always just knew that whatever I was listening to, it made me feel a way. And it made me keep going, even in the midst of things that I was dealing with, right? So fast forward a little bit, I stayed to that kept me grounded, kept me inspired, led me to want to make that decision to go off to college, which I was the first in my family to make that choice. But make that decision just to kind of escape my environment, get away from some of the things that I may have saw. So college became that escape option for me. Not necessarily that I wanted to go.
Right.
I just needed to get new surroundings.
It was the best option.
It was the best option.
I know that's right.
So I did that, and honestly, and I jumped a little ahead. I was always a quiet kid. The quote unquote labeled the quiet kid. I didn't have much to say.
Did you have a set of siblings? Where do you fall in the family?
Yeah. So I'm the youngest.
Okay.
I'm the youngest.
So everybody else was loud. And
everybody was loud and outspoken. Listen, I was the one, the back, crying, all the time and messing with the baby. So, for me, I never thought that speaking or anything was going to be in my future because, I was always labeled this quiet kid, and which is, it's kind of deep in a way when you think about labels and what people say and what people are pouring into you, and you got to be careful because if I would have let those labels
shape your identity,
shape me,
we wouldn't even be sitting here, right?
So got up to college and eventually kind of how you say it, like got out of my bubble in a way. But always had this motivation, inspiration still inside of me. And I think the Lord just kind of planted a little seed into me and continued to
water it, nurture it,
and nurture it as it went on. And that's what happened in college. I joined a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, and then after that, got a chance to do some leadership opportunities here. Kind of got pushed into some roles because, the funny thing, people saw leadership in me, but I didn't see it in myself.
Absolutely.
So pushing me into things, and as I got more comfortable, and as I realized, as she was saying, okay, that was really good. I want you to do this. I want you to lead this. You're the right person for this. I started to really think like, okay, maybe there is something there, right? Yeah. So then I just leaned in more into asking God, maybe what's going on here. And with that, I remember I made my first kind of motivational post on Instagram. This was about 2014, probably. Yeah. Okay. I mean, my first post online, I said, I'm just going to do it. I've always stayed in the motivation. Has always been in my heart.
You were listening to other people saying, I could do that.
Yeah. But then when I did it, it made me feel a way. It made me realize I was releasing something that I've been holding in for so long. Yeah. And then, the overwhelming of people saying, oh, I really needed that. I'm glad you said that. And it was like, that started to feel better than when I was going to speak. Mm-hmm. And with that, it just kind of went from there, then I just stayed with the videos and stay inspiring and, now here, continue to develop my craft.
Sure. What inspired you to go ahead and put the book into motion? Because, you could just speak and everybody becomes a podcaster. For sure. You got a phone and a microphone and a spotlight, ring light. All you need is a ring light.
All you need is a ring light right on the phone,
But there's a difference. You said you kept feeling some way, some kind of way.
Yes.
Your book gives a little bit, it speaks a little bit into overcoming challenges and then emptying the tank.
Yes,
that's the plug right there for you to talk about the book.
Absolutely. So empty the tank. It came actually, kind of, it's my second book.
Okay.
It came right after I wrote this my first book called Chasing, and that was more so a little bit about my story growing up in Detroit and some of the challenges I faced it. But what inspired me to write the book is because I just knew from speaking, I knew how I grew up and coming from Detroit and, a single parent home and dealing with poverty and things like that, right? So I just knew that my story with the book, it probably can reach more people. And in that, I wanted to equip people with tools, ways to get out of, mindsets that they may be stuck in. Maybe pain that you may think you can't get over, and that's what Empty the Tank is. It's really saying, we only get one life in a way, on here on this earth. And with that life, we have to, figure out what can we do, right, to use all our potential, right, use it all up. So when we are, I kind of get a little bit in the first, and when you open the book, the first one, I get a little bit dark there. Got the obituary, right?
Yes.
Like listen,
well, you start with the end and then work your way.
I'm like, so. And that's real, because if you were, what would you want to be said about
Sure. What would you want people to be reading about you if it was the last thing that they'd know?
Exactly. And for me, I didn't want it to be, this kid coming from Detroit, just didn't really have much going, got caught up in here and there in the streets, and now he's gone. I didn't want that for me.
Yeah. You definitely broke a cycle, and I think going into banking, just pursuing the education piece was an avenue, of course, to get you to where you are. You seem to be at peace, newlywed, and all of that. You're about a year in, right? We're going on 2 years. Going on 2 years, and you can shout out to your wife, man, if you want. She's watching.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
She's definitely gonna watch me. Shout out my wife, Kendall. She's amazing. She's the drive behind my passion.
Great.
And I love you.
Yeah, I know that she has to have an effect on you. Got you wiggling and just kind of moving.
Because
I'm a newlywed too. I'm a newlywed.
When she
I'm still a newlywed. We've been married for 39 years, man.
Yeah, that's still newlywed.
I'm still a newlywed.
Hey, listen.
Well, as long as I say that, it keeps me in good standing.
I hear you.
But it's the truth. So these are passions. The motivation, the fact that you went into banking, the fact that you pursued a degree despite odds. You overcame. You found some brotherhood, and you became, or you are becoming, an inspiration to others. What is the message that you have that is just a central theme? As speakers, we always have a central theme. Mine, of course, is grow and change. Yep. Hence the Growth Podcast. But what's your central theme when it relates to your motivation?
Yeah, great question. My central theme is really that your pain has a purpose.
Pain has a purpose.
Your pain has a purpose.
That's one of the chapters, actually.
Exactly. And that's the reason why that's my central theme. Am I speaking? Your pain has a purpose because we go through it's a lot of different pains that we all go through, right? And pain can be whatever, you attribute that pain to whatever you may be feeling. And I know I faced a lot of pain in my life that I did not realize was going to be my purpose. I thought it was going to destroy me. I thought it was God punishing me. I thought it was something that wasn't really going to be that driving force into where I'm at now. So when I talk and when I speak, my central theme is when I want to give out to audiences is that whatever pain you may be going through, whatever pain you are feeling, whatever that may have caused any pain, any past pain, present pain, whatever that hurt may be, it is not like the ending factor. It is not your determining factor. It is the driving factor, right? It's that purpose. It's God is really stirring something up inside of you.
Sure.
One of my speeches, I say something here, when you think about gold, right? Gold goes through this crazy refining process.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It
goes through this extreme heat, breaking it down, meddling, right? And you think, but when you see gold, it's so shiny, right? When it comes to that full form, but it had to go through that
process.
That process.
I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe that talked about how God hides precious elements and take them through a process before they become valuable to the natural eye. You think about it, gold looks like just dirt, mud, clay.
Sure.
In its making, in its processing, and then once it's been discovered in some type of way, and then refined through heat, through the goldsmithing process, it then becomes so valuable, and the price continues to increase.
Absolutely.
So our trials, and I'm trying to paraphrase both from the book and what you're saying here, our trials or our situations are really necessary in order for us to come forth. The preacher in me wants to say, you've been tried in the fire. You come forth as pure gold. But just for the street version, the street version, what you go through has a purpose.
It definitely does. And, I say that now, but I'm not gonna lie. When I was going through it,
it didn't feel like it.
It's like, man,
didn't look like it. Didn't feel like it.
Any sense?
Yeah.
So whatever, the main thing, if anyone doesn't get anything, really, it's that, right? It's that fire you're going through, those times you're going through right now. I
hear a lot of empathy in your voice. I hear the empathy to a specific audience, a specific group, a specific demographic. There's a particular person. Who is that ideal person that you're talking to when you're speaking this? That passion in your voice is, I'm talking to you. And who is that you're talking to?
Yeah, so when I'm talking, right, how I think my experience is that use age range, of course, demographics, right? African Americans, close to that, like 15 to 30, range there. But the message it still resonates, with multiple,
Oh, absolutely. People. It's not limited, but I can tell it's pointed.
Definitely, it's because, speaking in, even my experience, that's sometime where that piece is missing because I didn't have anyone speaking that life into me. And as I have spoken and talked to others, and, kids and teenagers like that's that missing piece. So that's why sometimes that passion may come out a little bit because
that teen, the young adult window is when most decisions are made, the good ones and the bad ones. But it's also the time in which you relate to needing somebody to have spoken into your life. I did some research in that area, and it related specifically to self-efficacy and the impact of fatherlessness on Black males in the adult range. After we get to be adults, how did that impact us? So it sounds like you're meeting the need or becoming what you didn't see. We're going to take a quick break in just a minute. Before we do, though, I would like for you to kind of bait the audience or bait those who are listening to the chapters of the book. What is the most outstanding element of the book that you want them to know about?
We kind of touched on it a little bit.
Okay.
But that death before obituary, really
Which is the first chapter. Is the first chapter?
Because I try to hit you hard when I first have
it came out the blocks.
Because that's so real and it's so important. And if we live the way that we want to leave that legacy, want to be said about us, not even our obituary, don't want to have anyone, in our lives that may pass that did not see our full potential because we were scared to make that jump. So when you think about that, so that's one thing I really, really want to hit on, start our first chapter, and that says a lot because there's a lot of good chapters in there.
Oh, absolutely.
But absolutely, a death before obituary is something I definitely want to hit home.
Well, what we're going to do is take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get more into the book, but also just your life journey, where you are right now, and then where you're going, because this whole podcast is centered around all things growth. And anything living, I believe, has the potential to grow to its fullest and most maximal potential. So right after this break, we'll come back and continue talking to Mr. Anthony Winans. We'll be right back. If you're a business or a nonprofit looking to tell your story through powerful video, you've got to check out 630 Visions. They specialize in creating high-quality cinematic content that not only looks amazing, but actually helps you grow your brand and connect with your audience. I've seen their work. It's purposeful, professional, and built around your vision. Visit 630visions.com, that's 630visions.com, to learn more and to see how they can help bring your story to life. And we are back. I'm talking to Anthony Winans a little bit about the motivation behind Empty the Tank, as well as just where you are right now and where you're going. Before the break, we discussed, or I mentioned, excuse me, that there was an empathy in your voice. I hear this this empathic call for somebody listening to do better than what they're doing and to become everything that they could potentially become. Sure. And that seemed to have struck a note or a chord with you. You're in banking right now, in addition to the motivation and the speaking and the mentoring. What is it like to be a black man in America in banking?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're in a major bank in a managerial role. So
correct. You know, me really, I should translate everything I do into my work as well. So being in that space, definitely just like I said, the empathy. Even with the team, even with my team, I'm always instilling principles of growth, principles of personal development, and navigating that and being kind of on the younger scale at that as well. Getting people used to that also. In addition to being a black man in that space as well. There may be a little bit challenges there, but for me, just because of who I am and motivation, inspiration, and what I live by, I go out every day, with that same drive. Just to do the best that I know I can do and motivate and inspire my team to do their best and do.
What's the response? Do you get a positive response or?
Positive response now.
Yeah.
I tell you, when you first start, I feel like in any when you first start, it's always kind of that pulling, that resistance, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, your true self, who you really are, is going to come out, and then either people are going to accept it and really cling on to it, or your passion or your drive, or will scare some people away. But at the end of the day,
well, I'm gonna be real. We have a tendency, black men, to be a threat in a lot of different environments. And for fear, people will do crazy things. They either cut you off at the path or they will tokenize you if they can, those types of things. And those are challenges that we still face past our 20s, past seeing our 30s. Those are real. So the message of motivation and literally leaving it all, putting it all out there, I think is something that you can digest yourself, but you can also leave that as a trail for somebody following you. There's some, 19 or 20-year-olds that want to go into banking that can look at your life and go, you know what, it's doable. It's something that is attainable.
Definitely.
But you also have a blossoming career in public speaking and podcasting. Talk about your experience in becoming a public speaker.
The experience has been it's been better now. I'll tell you, first time I still get nerves.
We all do.
I still get nerves.
That's just displaced passion. That's just displaced passion.
So I still get the nerves, but now some people might say, I'm very passionate. You hear some of my deliveries, and it's really because of the experiences and because of the care of who I'm talking to that you get that passion, right? So my experience in public speaking, it has been rewarding in the sense of being able to really inspire change in someone, and being able to have someone come up to you after the fact and want to have like that one-on-one, like, when you said this here, it resonated with me, or I'm going through this back home, and things that I've been dealing with this. That's the most rewarding part for me, because honestly, that's why I got into it, and I feel like that's why God has called me to it, because it's not just me. When I go up there and speak, I definitely don't want anything. I'm up there speaking on my own, saying what I'm doing. No, it's all God fueled. Anything I say.
That's good,
So,
man. And that's unapologetic. I'm the same way. I let people know straight off the bat. I'm going to infuse my faith in there somewhere, so that it will ignite a fire in somebody, and then
Absolutely,
it will burn
absolutely.
as a witness. That's the main thing, is being a witness and being a light. None of us can proclaim or claim, this 100% perfection of any gift, because it all comes from God.
Absolutely.
And we're flawed as vessels. But you seem to have mastered this. You seem to have a confidence level. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? Where are you going with this?
Man, great question. Next few years, I just see me, inspiring more people, getting opportunities to just travel more and reach different audiences, not just on the screen, but in person. I definitely love that physical connection, right? At a time,
being physically in the
being
space with
physically
people.
in the space, feeling that energy, they feeling my energy, feeding off of each other there. The next few years, I see that. I see, blossoming into something, bigger than what it already is, and more impact on just communities,
Sure.
more change, different ways to really, impact and uplift the youth.
How should people reach you if they want to get your book?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or if they want to book you?
For sure. So people can reach me on my website. It's my name, AnthonyWinans.com. That's the best way, right, to get to book me and buy the book on the website as well. And also on my Instagram, _ my name as well, Anthony Winans. Can reach me there. Like I said, I reply. I see everything. So there's no team really behind.
You are the team right now.
Filtering everything. So I'm very responsive. So if people want to reach me or purchase the book, those are definitely the two avenues they could take.
That's exciting, man. We can talk a little bit more about this, man. I wanted to know what married life is like. You've only been married a year.
For sure.
So what is it like?
It's great, right?
You're still smiling. I grinning. Ear to ear,
It's great. And the aspect that, have to help me.
Yep.
Definitely she saw me when I was just kind of starting this speaking thing or getting serious about it.
Right.
But overall, just having that support, having that team. I want to go back and say I do have a team.
Yeah,
my wife.
Your wife. She's a team.
Yeah.
You are a team together.
We're that team.
Oh, I assume that automatically.
Yeah,
goes
okay.
without saying. You wouldn't be sitting there smiling if it wasn't the case.
Oh man, So, but it's been great. Definitely, just because of the inspiration that she gives me in the job to keep going. Because even if I still have days, I still have days when sometimes that inspiration, motivation may take a little bit of hit, and she's like there in the background
To remind you, who you are, and show them who you are.
Absolutely.
Great. Show them who you are.
Sure.
And what do you want the audience to know about? More things in this book. Let's talk a little bit about the first book, because this is the second one. The first one was inspiration, of course, from your experiences. What was the keystone out of the first book?
Yeah, so my first book, Chasing, I'm not gonna lie, that was a quick write. I was like, I want to write a book.
Yeah, we all had that first project out there somewhere.
I said I want to write a book, so I wrote it. Went on Amazon. That was it. You know. But the key thing I was trying to point out there, because that's around the time I was speaking for a while, a little bit on social media, and I wasn't telling my story as much. Just a lot of motivation. I'm like, I really want to tell my story though. So to give you that reasoning behind why you may hear this motivation coming from you. Mm-hmm. So that first book, each chapter was just a piece of my life that had some impact on me in a way. So it started. It's chapters in there explaining when I was hanging out with my guys in the summer and getting into trouble. When I thought I had a rap career. That's
another episode.
When I thought
another interview for another day.
I mean? When I thought I had a football career. When I was getting into a lot of things, a lot of different people when our parents was facing, my mom was facing, hard times and poverty growing up in Detroit. So the first book was really small chapters and pieces of my life that kind of built me to who I am to
Sure.
Really,
So it's kind of like the breakthrough piece that gets you out there.
Yeah,
Because once you publish it and once it's out there, it's out there. I get calls now from people who had access to the first book, and they're like, "How can I get a copy?" I was like, "I guess I could get your copy, but it's out there." And it was a platform. It's a platform. We share something in common, and that is the desire to see people maximize their potential.
Yes.
That came from our gritty experiences.
Yeah.
Detroit, East Side specifically.
Absolutely.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced that you've overcome?
Oh man, I think one of the biggest challenges that I faced is my environment, and making sure I didn't become a product of that environment.
Sure.
Didn't see a lot of success around me. Mm-hmm. So a challenge for me was to see something inside of me, but when you couldn't see it, when there's nothing there, it's hard to be it.
Yeah.
So that was a really big challenge for me, and I just thank God that He put something inside of me to break that out.
I can relate, man. And you probably didn't even know it was God. I mean, I didn't grow up
at that time. I didn't know.
I didn't even grow up in the church. I went to whatever church was in the neighborhood, but and we had many neighborhoods. But I can relate specifically to the challenge of environment, which is a indirect correlation to your self-esteem and developing, becoming the person that you want to become. Well, who is that? Was it somebody you saw on TV? Was it somebody, an actor, or, was the neighborhood dealer or whatever? We had role models. They just weren't necessarily the positive role models.
Exactly,
and then it wasn't all bad either because God protected, obviously, and sheltered you to the extent to where you've gotten to where you are. Have you gone back to your own high school yet? Your old high school?
I have not been back to my high school yet.
That's a rite of passage. We all want to get back to be able to talk to the group.
That's always been kind of my passion, because knowing those hallways is where I got a little bit of that.
Well, share this episode with somebody at the school. You can just click and share, to the principal and say, "Hey, have me come in and talk."
You know what I mean? I do want to mention one thing real quick. Even in the environment, kind of the hard work that I have now, even though we went through the struggles, my mom, that was still the first time I saw, strength.
Yeah.
Through struggle.
Okay.
So just taking it all back a little bit to kind of where I get some of that.
So really, you can attribute some of that success to your mom creating
absolutely
that space. In the research, I talked about it before the break, in the research that I did doctoral research on African-American males, specifically those who've experienced the impact of fatherlessness. And one of the resounding themes from all of the interviews that I did was that there was a strong Black woman in their lives that helped push them in the direction that they needed to go, or served as a barrier to keep you from going back. Either they pushed you forward aggressively, or they stood there and says, "No, you're not going back to this. You don't belong, down there. You belong up there."
Yeah.
And so that was a resounding truth. It sounds like it came through as well as far as your journey.
So and my dad wasn't completely absent.
Okay.
He was there a little bit, but then a little bit times or years is when didn't see him as much, now. But now we have a relationship.
Reconciled.
So, but going back to you said, definitely, my mom, and it's funny because she didn't necessarily push me. She knew I had something, she definitely knew I always had something in me. But it wasn't really a push from her. I think I soak a lot of stuff in. So just not understanding how she could be so strong, keep going. I knew what we was going through.
So in other words, you were admiring the fact that she was so tenacious.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's another behind my message as well. Like, even my experiences, and I've also seen firsthand experiences that
you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it. You can go through it. You can get to the place that you want to be.
Absolutely.
Well, man, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next.
Of course.
Some public speaking gigs, as they would say, or engagements. Yeah. And then, of course, what do you plan on doing with this banking thing? You ever see the opportunity to talk about what you've learned in the banking industry to these young men or these young people that you're exposed to?
I think for me with my career, I see the opportunity just to motivate, people who want to, get in that professional field, those careers to just remind them that they can do it. Any barriers that may be there, don't let those stop you.
Sure.
And just really, professional development. I see me, in that space as well when it comes to definitely like black men and women, just in those spaces also. But not just So yeah, with that career wise, my banking, I do plan on using that as fuel just to let others know.
Sure. You mentioned professional development, and that's personal and professional development. And that's my vein as well. What are the key factors that you think we should be focusing on if we're on that journey of personal and professional development? What should we be focusing on?
I think the main thing you should be focusing on is mindset.
Okay, how we view things.
How you view things, because it all starts with our minds. It all starts on how we view things. Once we can change this wiring in our mindsets of how we view things, a lot of things start to flow from that. But if our mindsets are still foggy or cloudy, no matter what you try to do, no matter like it's like a robot. You can try to do these things, but it's never going to be truly you. Until we can change, kind of rewiring our mindset, how we think things. That's the start. And then after that is really going in and being how you want to be addressed. That's kind of how I my whole career, professional development is, how I want to be addressed. I know that God has called me, to greater. So acting like that as well, and not acting like God hasn't called you to that. So definitely. But like I'm gonna go back. That first key is mindset. That was a big thing for me. Changing my mindset. If I've never changed how I thought or see things or saw things, then I wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Yeah, that's good, man, that you have discovered some essential keys to professional development or becoming exactly the things that you're supposed to be. When God calls us out from our experiences, whether they were Detroit or wherever, any city, doesn't have to be, and you overcame something, it gives you two perspectives. One, you can look back from where you came, but you're also looking forward to where it is that you could potentially be. So just take a last 10 seconds and give a motivational pitch.
Oh, definitely. Well, last 10 seconds. No, but all seriousness, life is going to throw all different type of obstacles at you. Life is going to try to throw you off your square. Life is going to try to get you to forget who God has called you to be. But the main thing that I want to leave here with you today is that no matter what no one said about you, no matter how someone treated you, no matter what someone did to you, you can always revert back to your true self. You can always look yourself in the mirror and become who you know you should be. So I want to leave you with that whatever it is you may be faced, whatever challenge, whatever pain, whatever difficulties that you may be going through, listen, do not let that stop you. Do not let that throw you off your track. Keep going, keep trusting God, and keep pushing.
Awesome. Man, that was awesome.
Dang.
Anthony Winans, we're going to make sure we put his contact information in the notes, but you've heard that he's got 2 publications that can be inspirational. You can also contact him directly to book him for speaking and for motivational experiences.
Absolutely,
I believe I can see some retreats and things with young folks. You're right here in the city of Grand Rapids, but you're global, right?
Yes.
Which means you'll travel. Hey, I'm so glad that you tuned in. I'm glad that you're listening to this and that you're sharing and liking. And wonderful guests like this, I'll probably have you back, man. Everybody that I've interviewed so far or talked to, I've invited them back, and we're going to have some more dialogue and conversation. Absolutely. We're really working on something to network those who have a growth mindset, those who would like to spend some time in some growth development labs, and then eventually roll out through network other opportunities. And so stay tuned to the Growth Exchange podcast with Dr. Tarence Lauchié. Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Growth Exchange. I'm Dr. Tarence Lauchié. It's been a pleasure to have these conversations and dialogues with our guests. If you notice, one thing we all share in common, and that is the ability, the desire, and the potential to grow and maximize our fullest potential. So keep tuning in. Share this with somebody, like it, maybe even invite somebody. And if you'd like to be a guest, contact us with the information that's here and available for you. Let's grow.